Good evening, everybody. I'm John McGill. I am the District Foundation team leader, and I'd like to welcome you all this evening to this foundation seminar. This seminar is being recorded for those who can't make it tonight. We've got a few new ideas we're trying tonight, so I hope you're going to find it interesting and enjoyable. And we're going to start straight away with one of those new ideas. And I'd like to invite past District Governor Val Robinson to join me, please, on screen.
Good evening, everyone.
Well, hello, Val.
Hi, John.
Now, the two of us on many occasions have discussed the Rotary Foundation, the work that it does, and the impact of that work on those people who benefit. So perhaps it's an ideal opportunity just to refresh our minds as to what the foundation does.
Yes, you're very right in saying that we have, but let's start with the basics. How much are we asked to donate to the Rotary Foundation every year, John?
$100.
Did you say $100? What is that in real money?
It's just over £82 at today's exchange rate.
£82 from each of us? Can I just get this straight? They're asking us for £82 from each member every year. And then my question would be, and what has the Rotary Foundation ever done for us? Tell me that. Nothing, I would say.
Nothing, yes, nothing. Apart from, of course, from being the world leader in polio eradication and contributing $2.1 billion and untold thousands of volunteer hours in protecting nearly 3 billion children.
Okay, I'll give you that. But apart from polio eradication, what has the Rotary Foundation ever done for us?
Nothing at all. If you don't count last year's allocation of $73 million in global grants to clubs and districts to help fund large projects that tackle disease, provide clean drinking water, support education, save mothers and children, promote peace, help grow local economies, and of course, the environment.
Okay, if you insist. So apart from polio eradication and global grants, what has the Rotary Foundation ever done for us?
Zero, nothing. Well, nothing aside from the $27 million awarded to district grants to help clubs finance small local humanitarian projects.
Okay. Let's not argue about that. So apart from polio eradication, global grants and helping clubs projects through district grants, what has the Rotary Foundation ever done for us?
Absolutely nothing. But didn't the foundation allocate $4 million to Rotary Peace Centres last year and fund 130 peace fellowships?
Okay. I'm always almost afraid to ask. Apart from polio eradication, global grants, district grants, and Rotary Peace Centres, what has the Rotary Foundation ever done for us?
Zip. Nothing. Although I do seem to remember hearing something about $8 million being awarded in district response grants to help things like temporary shelters, generators for hospitals, etc.
Okay, keep on saying that. Surely I hear what you say, but there can't be more. So apart from polio eradication, global grants, district grants, the Rotary Peace Centres, disaster response grants, what has the Rotary Foundation ever done for us?
You know, I never thought of it like that. You're right. Apart from the things I've mentioned and so much more, the Rotary Foundation has done nothing for us. They've got a hell of a nerve asking for 23 pence a day for nothing from us.
Well, but blimey, just sitting reflecting on it a little bit, the Rotary Foundation actually does do a lot for us, don't they?
Since it was founded more than 100 years ago, the Rotary Foundation has spent more than $4 billion on life-changing sustainable projects. The foundation is our foundation. It's our charity. Recently, it was announced that for the 13th years in succession, the Rotary Foundation has been awarded the top 4 rating for Charity Navigator and is still in the top 5 charities in the world. And why does it work? Because Rotary is a worldwide organisation. Funds are raised by Rotarians, projects are planned by Rotarians, and projects are delivered by Rotarians. But like all charities, Rotary Foundation requires cash input if it's to fulfil its mission. In the case of Rotary Foundation, that mission is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. So just for the record, exactly how much is the Rotary Foundation asking each of us to contribute in the current Rotary year? Well, it's quite simple. First of all, you're asked to donate $100. That's about £82.39 per person to the annual fund. You can do this in many ways. By personal donation via the Sustaining Membership Scheme, which is about £6.87 a month. If paid through the Rotary Foundation UK, that will attract gift aid. By direct donations from club funds, or a combination of both. You're also asked to donate the same $100 per person to the Polio Plus Fund, that's the Polio Rotary Polio Society. This is usually achieved from club fundraising activities, but of course you can make personal donations basically in the same way as the annual fund. And that's it, there's nothing more to it. Sadly, the pandemic and the poor state of the economy has resulted in a significant fall in donations, with a particular impact on the End Polio Now campaign. And I want to take this opportunity to make a personal appeal, not only to you and your clubs, but to you personally, and ask you to support the Rotary Foundation and the End Polio Now campaigns. Remember, £1 might not seem much, but when you add the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation 2-to-1 contribution, that becomes £3. And £3 will vaccinate about 6 children. 6 children who will not get polio because of you. How's that for a legacy? So please keep supporting both funds and keep it high on your agenda for this coming year. You know it makes sense. Thanks very much, Val, for helping me with that. And we're now going to move on. I'm delighted to be able to welcome another guest, an old friend of the district, Tom Hunt. Tom, the floor is yours.
Evening, everyone. I'm Tom Hunt. I'm from Ludlow Rotary, which is in 1210, Shropshire, a bit of Staffordshire and a bit of Wales. I'm also the endowment and major gift advisor across the whole of RGB&I, but I haven't got that hat on this evening. The hat I have got is foundation, not surprisingly. Now, we've all sat and listened to boring renditions of all the mechanics of what the foundation does and global grants and etc, etc. So you'll be pleased to know that's not what you're going to get from me this evening. What I want to talk about is the end product. Where does the money go? How do we do good in the world? And I'd like to start with 4 very well established projects, because I think sustainability is really important to be aware of. I know we have many individual and single projects that we do, but one of the key factors is it has to be sustainable. You may have heard of these. The Guatemala Literacy Project was started 25 years ago, and it is improved tens of thousands, if not more, of people in Guatemala, whether they're children or adults, in their ability to read. That may not seem much it might not seem a big thing in our countries, but it definitely is there. The Jaipur Limb. You may have heard of that. It's been going for a long while, and it provides prosthetics for people who have unfortunately lost a limb, and particularly if they've lost a leg, it allows them to walk again. Mercy ships. They travel around the coast of Africa. The ships are have unpaid surgeons and all the staff that go to make up a hospital. They started off fixing cleft lips, cleft yeah, cleft lips, which was very prevalent in the time, but they do much, much more now. And the last one I'm just going to mention, there are many, many more, is the Global Sight Savers, started by the Rotary Club of Guildford. And they've built it up via global grants to the extent that they now can install equipment in clinics and in hospitals to enable people to regain their sight. So now a few stories. The first part of this story I find quite sad, and but it has a happy ending, and that is that in many places in Africa, a mother will have to walk many miles to enable them to find some water. Problem is, when they get there, that water is contaminated, but that's all they've got. And so they then walk back and they have the terrible decision: do I give it to my baby now? Do I not give it to my baby and the baby will die, or do I give it to my baby and it may survive for a few years? No one should have to make that decision, I don't believe. And just as on a personal note, I think after we have rid the world of polio, clean water for everyone should be our target. I believe it's going to be malaria, but I think it should be clean water, but that's purely personal. Back in the day, again, some of you may remember Aquabox, started by the Rotary Club of Wirksworth many, many moons ago. And I was heavily involved when I was in District 1220. It's basically a plastic box with a filter. We would fill it with stuff, clothes, kitchen utensils, just so it didn't go out empty, and that helped somewhat. But its primary function was to clean water. Okay, the mother still had to walk the miles, but at least when she gave it to the child, it was clean. We've obviously moved on. Aquabox is still available, but we've moved on, and we now fund digging wells, so they've got clean water all the time. And you almost certainly have heard of the Sand Dams project, which again was to achieve providing clean water on tap, as it were. So now I moved to India, and a vocational training team was sent out to a village, could be any village, because the problem was happening in many, many places, where the mortality rate of babies was 90%. 9 out of 10 were dying. So this VTT, vocational training team, which consisted of a midwife and some nurses, and a doctor, of course, they investigated, and you can't believe this really, but it was down to cleanliness, washing of hands, keeping everything clean, and the mortality rate went down to 10%, 1 in 10, which could have been put down to normal causes. So 9 out of 10 babies are saved because of the visit by that vocational training team. Now I'd like to give you one of my own club. A few years ago, we were approached, and it was actually from a club in Tanzania, and they needed mainly a schoolroom for teaching the children, but also it would have been very handy if they had a toilet block. So through the global grant system, we went through the process, and we managed to provide that, which was changed the lives of probably all of those school children. One personal to home is District 1210's current district governor. He was born in Mumbai in a lower to middle class family. They were okay, but they couldn't afford for him to go to university. They couldn't afford him to study, so he applied and got a scholarship, and that enabled him to get the appropriate books and go to university. And he has been an eminent surgeon for the last, I'm going to probably say his age, but I'm going to say the last 40 years, all because Rotary made that life-changing decision to give him a scholarship. Also in my current district, the Rotary Club of Walsall Saddlers, they were approached for the project in West Bengal in India, and it was for clean water, sanitation, and it helped over 3,500 people. But I'm going to top that with my last story about global grants, and that is in Africa, in Zambia, 7 districts got together, and it was to eliminate malaria. We trained 2,500 health workers, and they serviced 1,250,000 patients. But I come to what I call the biggest story of all. John has mentioned in passing, but it's the biggest story that no one knows about but Rotarians. And of course, it's our promise to the world in 1985 to rid the world of polio. You may or may not know, but it actually started in 1979 in the Philippines, where they vaccinated 6 million children. We then moved to 1985, where Rotary made the decision to take it on. And then we moved to 1988, when Polio Plus started, and the World Health Organization, UNICEF, etc., came on board. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation came on somewhat later, 2007, but we're very grateful to everything that they're doing. And as John mentioned, it's the 2-to-1 match makes it every pound very significant. The stats, as again, I'm sure you know, but I think for those who don't, 350,000 in 1985 polio children getting polio. To date this year, 9, 7 in Afghanistan and 2 in Pakistan. And it is really, really, really now on the cards that by the end of this year, we will be seeing the last wild polio virus 1 people getting it, and we can then start the 3-year countdown to when we can actually say we have met our promise to the world and we've actually rid the world of polio. And we should be, excuse me swearing, ladies, if we can't, but we should be damn proud of what we've done, and we should tell people of what we've done, because without Rotary, it just wouldn't have happened. Sorry if I sound evangelical, but I am quite strong about it, that more people should know what we've achieved. Now, we've done all this good stuff. How we've done it, and it's been mentioned by John and before earlier, we do it through donations. But where did it start? So we go back to 1917, and the then president of RI, Arch C. Clumph, he had a vision. Way before Martin Luther King, he had a vision to create a fund for doing good in the world. The Rotary Club of Kansas City donated $26.50, which in that time, 1917, was probably quite a lot of money. And that has now risen to 1.6 billion in donation, actual cash and pledges. And it's for doing good tomorrow and forever. So, donations. You've already been asked, but repetition is good in Rotary. We do like things repeated, don't we? So I'm going to. I call it taking the first step. If you're not a sustaining member, then please take the first step. And as John said, $100 a year, £7 or £8 a month, and you will then contribute to the good that we do. If you've already taken the first step, then take the second one, please. Please consider moving up the donation league, perhaps to Paul Harris Society, and then onto a major donor. As well as, alternatively, please consider becoming a member of the Bequest Society by putting a pledge in your will so that you're doing good when you pass to higher service. All that I have said is not possible without you and the other 1.2 million, or if you want to count Rotaractors, 1.4 million, doing their bit. And so I'd just like to read you a poem, and it is headed, "A Rotarian is a person who digs wells from which they will never drink, who vaccinates children they will never meet, who restores sight for those they will never see, who builds houses they will never live in, who educates children they will never know, who plants trees they will never sit under, who feeds hungry people regardless of race, religion, or politics, who allows a person to walk half a world away, and who knows real happiness can be found by serving others." So in summary, through your donations, we improve lives, we save lives, and we change lives. So thank you for everything you do to allow us to do good in the world.
Thank you very much for that. And thank you for taking your time out to join us this evening. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Now can I just check with Malcolm? Is Vaz here?
Yes, I am, John.
Right, thank you. We're now going to be joined by our very own Vaz, as you'll know him. He's going to talk to you about vocational training teams, and technology permitting, he's hopefully going to have a video from a colleague in India. So, Vaz, I'll hand that over to you.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. Let me get this thing out of the way. I'm always very nervous about this technology. Right. Tom has already referred to vocational training team in his presentation, and I intend to expand a little bit about this the aspects of vocational training teams, because not many people know all the different features of this excellent project that the Rotary Foundation has. So vocational service is at the very heart of that everything that Rotary does, because as Rotarians, we bring, as professionals, we use our professional or vocational skills to solve problems facing our communities, thereby improving the quality of their lives. We bring about better healthcare for them, bring clean water. I think Tom referred to many of those things. And then people living in a community have all these facilities. They live in peace, and they don't want to wage war with anyone. And ultimately, it leads to peace when we bring peace to communities, both locally and internationally. So vocational service is a very important aspect of Rotary, and that is the reason why the Rotary Foundation gives so much importance to vocational service, so much so it funds, it allows Rotarians to undertake projects which help vocational training. This may be both a small scale at the district or club level or at the global level. I'm talking a little bit more about the vocational training at the global level, and these are funded by global grants, and these are called vocational training teams. What is a vocational training team? Well, it is a group of professionals who go to another country to learn more about their profession, or to teach the local professionals in that country about a particular field. So that is the objective of a vocational training team. Why a vocational training team? Well, it offers a hands-on approach to vocational service. It allows a sustainable change to be brought about by strengthening knowledge and skills of individuals and communities. I think Tom referred to that VTT that went to India. They also the team experiences a new culture. The team makes global connections. And at the end, there's a long-term impact as a result of this team visiting another country and sharing their expertise. Examples of VTTs, other examples, it could be training medical professionals in cardiac surgery, for example, in pediatric cardiac surgery, or sharing best practices on early childhood education, or explaining new irrigation techniques to farmers. So it could be anything, as long as they are confined to the 7 areas of focus of Rotary Foundation. So what is a successful VTT? Well, it increases the capacity of the host community to solve problems and improve the quality of life. And aim is to help Rotarians contribute to world understanding, goodwill, and peace by improving people's health, supporting education, and alleviate poverty. And once again, I come back to the point that whatever we do, ultimately, it all leads to peace. We're all peacemakers at the end of the day. So, criteria for a VTT. What are the criteria? A vocational team has to address one of 7 areas of focus, like all other foundation projects. There's got to have it has to have a minimum of 3 members, including a Rotarian team leader. The team members have to have at least 2 years of work experience in the area of focus. And the team leader has to have a general level of Rotary knowledge, international experience, leadership qualities, and some expertise in the area of experience. However, in some instances, a non-Rotarian may act as a leader. Not all participants will necessarily have the same vocation or profession. For example, we did invited a vocational training team to come from Bangalore in India in 2014. And at that time, the idea was that the hospice movement in Bangalore was very poor. It's for a big city of 10 million people. It had only 2 hospices, but we had a very strong hospice movement in our district. So a team came from Bangalore, and they were assigned to spend some time in the hospices in our district. And this team member, the team consisted of, this lady here was a nurse working in a palliative care ward. These 2 ladies were doctors. This lady was an oncological or a cancer psychiatrist. She counseled patients who had developed cancer. And this lady here was a PR person for one of the hospices, which in fact is run by Rotary clubs in Bangalore. So they were all from different professions, but they were all connected with the hospice movement. So the criteria, continuing with the criteria for VTT, the Rotarians and their family members may participate in a VTT, as long as the team is providing training and not receiving training. And also, relatives of a vocational training team member may participate on the same team if they meet eligibility requirements, and there are no age restrictions. And a VTT must be sponsored by 2 districts from 2 countries. Focus and length of visit is to be determined by sponsors. There can be exchange visits between the two districts. Cultural and social activities are encouraged, and the budget is a minimum of $30,000, and both districts contribute. Of course, this is, we can apply for a global grant to do this. So we now come to a proposal that we've had from District 3190. They want to do another VTT with our district, and this time it's they want to send some teachers from government schools in District 3190. And past District Governor Rajendra Rai, who has proposed this VTT, I think he'll explain the need for this proposed VTT, and he'll tell us why, this will be beneficial for the teachers in Bangalore.
Good evening, fellow Rotarians of RI District 1190. This is Rajendra Rai, past District Governor of RI District 3190. Now 3192, as our district got bifurcated in this Rotary year. I've been invited by Rotarian Dr. Vasu and Rotarian Velma Robinson to briefly touch upon the proposal made by our district to organize a VTT under a global grant to train school teachers for teaching English in our government schools. As you all know, India is a multi-linguistic society, and each state has its own language. The language spoken in our district is Kannada, and in the government schools, all the core subjects such as science, maths, social studies are taught in Kannada. English taught as a second language. But when the children enter university to take up higher studies or take up professional courses such as engineering and medicine, they find it very difficult to cope with the core subjects like science, maths, because they are taught those subjects in Kannada. This is partly because our teachers are not competent to teach the language effectively, since most of them are arts, science, and commerce graduates, and not graduates of English language. Hence, we thought it fit that we write a global grant to send a vocational training team to a district in the UK, because there can't be any better country than the United Kingdom, mother of English language, to get these school teachers trained. The whole program will last for about 4 weeks, and these teachers will spend 1 week in each school, interact with the teachers there, learn the methodologies, techniques, and other useful pedagogy which is required to teach the language. VTT also envisages a written visit by your school teachers, a few of them, to our district. They'll also visit some of the government schools here and interact with the school teachers for teaching language, and also impart training to these teachers, because they're not the ones who are the advantage of getting trained under this VTT program. We have planned to dedicate about $12,000 as TDF from our district for this program. And I'm very sure this Bhakti project will get the support of your clubs and your district, so that 1190 and 3192 could execute this global grant project successfully. I thank Dr. Vasu for having given me this opportunity to make this proposal, and I'm sure all of you are gathered here for this TRF seminar will find this VTT program interesting to participate and partner with our district. Thank you very much. Namaste.
So in order to proceed with this proposed VTT, we need Rotary clubs to help us So the role of the Rotary clubs in moving this project is to identify schools which are prepared to take these teachers for a period of 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, arrange accommodation for them. They can stay in a hotel or a bed and breakfast or stay with Rotarians, but they liaise with the visiting team on a regular basis, provide them with opportunity to meet Rotarians by visiting clubs, etc., and enable them to visit local places of interest and see culture, participate in cultural events and so on. So the role of the schools would be allow 4 to 6 teachers to shadow English teachers as observers. And if there is more than one school participating in the project, they can move around the different schools. The role of the district is the district will be responsible for the entire project, of course, with the help of clubs. Without the help of clubs, we can't do anything. We intend to set up a team to organize this VTT in our district. And for that, we need a leader and some members on the committee to plan the team's visit here. And the VTT will be funded jointly by districts 1190, 3190, and our foundation. And absolutely, there'll be no financial commitment to clubs or schools whatsoever. When will the visit take place and how long will it be? Well, team from Bangalore, it's envisaged they will come here early in the new year, if possible. And the team from our district will go to Bangalore later on next year. And the duration of visit is flexible, anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks. If you wish to have any more information about this proposed VTT, please contact either Val or myself. And I've given our email IDs here. So thank you very much. Thank you for
Well, thank you very much, Vaz. That's an interesting project, and I look forward to seeing those teachers arrive here. Having been to India, I realise how important the English language is. Now, we all know the importance of education, and Rotary has prioritised education at all levels. Our next presentation is particularly special, as for the first time since 2013, we have our own global scholar in the form of Jack Robinson from Blackburn. And again, we're going to do something a little bit different in that instead of me telling you about global scholars, for the first time in this district, Jack will do that himself live from Cairo in Egypt. Just before that, I'm delighted to welcome Jack's supervisor, Dr. Georgie Tabu-Trava, who will tell you a bit about what Jack is doing and introduce Jack to you. So please welcome Dr. Georgie Tabu and our very own special global scholar, Jack Robinson.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, can you actually see the talk?
We can see you both.
Can you see the talk yet? No.
No, you've got to share the screen.
Share, okay.
There we go. That's
Can
it.
you?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. And it's really wonderful to share this moment with you. Particularly, it's a very important occasion such as this, and we have been really glad to be invited over, at least for me, to introduce me and also introduce the presentation that we will have tonight. I will first of all introduce myself, and then I will let Jack introduce himself, and then he can go on and present some of the things that he has been doing in Egypt in response to the grant that he has been recently awarded by Rotary Club. Okay, I think just to start off the introduction, I'll just this simple slide just to introduce myself. I'm originally from the Fiji Islands before I moved into the UK to teach here at the University of Central Lancashire in Preston. Coming from Fiji, charity is something that that lives within us. I can see now, even being here, I'm trying to contribute back to trying to help my people back at home. I am involved in two projects. One of the projects on the left here, which is to building a farmers market for the rural areas in Fiji. They don't have access to the market. So, and these are very traditional people. They, when someone runs out of food, they share. But they don't really know how to to share in terms of to trade. That what I meant in terms of trading. So we are starting this market here that's on the left here. We are building the house and everything's almost complete now. And just to help the people get skills in trying to trade amongst themselves and use that business skills to navigate the ever-changing world that is sweeping through Fiji. On the right is also a reforestation project, also in the rural areas in Fiji. So we have a lot of logging and all these things. So we are doing that project as well. So I believe that I need to put something back, and I'm really enjoy the principle of Rotary, because it's something that is very close to my heart as well, is to give back to the people, and particularly the people that really need it, and back in the rural communities. At least in the Fiji Islands. As I said, I'm Jack's supervisor, and supervising for his PhD program, which is the program that he's under now. And we have been very, very happy to know that Jack had been awarded this brilliant scholarship, which I will now give the opportunity to Jack to introduce himself and also go through the things that he has been doing in Egypt. Please, Jack. Yeah.
Thank you, Georgie. Thank you to all the speakers before as well. It's very fascinating and amazing what Rotary does for different populations around the world. First, I'm going to start off with a bit about myself. I'm a young lad from Blackburn who's come from a working class family. Growing up in Blackburn and the Blackburn community, I've realised that sometimes even hardworking people may still be skint, and they still might never be able to afford what they really want in life for themselves and the children. So I've always learned to work hard from a young age. I've always had part-time working somewhere. This started with working serving and cleaning tables at Spindle's Diner on Blackburn Market. This was every day for 4 years. To help pay for my university costs, I've recently had a variety of different jobs, mainly through agencies. So it's just when they need you, but it's quick work. So it was the only work I could get at the time. So I've worked at Crown Paints, done some industrial cleaning, clothes packing for charities, and warehouse operatives, which they just basically have me moving wardrobes all day. These, like I said, were agency jobs, so they didn't last very long. But this has given me the motivation to stick in education and try my best to get as far in life as I can, to eventually find work away from my hometown, and to try and improve the life of myself and the loved ones around me. Rotary has provided me with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to fulfill my dream to finish my PhD with research here in Egypt. I am massively grateful to Rotary for this golden ticket to complete my education and provide the discovery of potential new drugs for the future that could not only help the general population, but could specifically help less fortunate communities in this world through the discovery of more affordable, more accessible drugs. I would like to help discover drugs that could one day help the lovely people of Egypt, whose top drugs and healthcare aren't necessarily always available to the majority of the less fortunate of the population. They don't have like an NHS setup like we luckily have at home. Next slide, please, Geordie.
Can you see it?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. My research is based at the National Research Centre here in Cairo. I'm originally a chemistry PhD student, but this research has helped educate me in microbiology, and this is the very beginning of the drug discovery from natural products pipeline. It starts with the microbiology, and then it works to the chemistry within the drug discovery pipeline. Now I'm becoming a specialist in all areas of this research. The main goal of this trip is to find biological activity from natural products found in microorganisms that live within other organisms native to Egypt. This means like fungi and bacteria that live in plants or marine sponges. And because they've been shown to be very valuable in the search for new drugs that could be valuable against certain disease targets. This activity against these disease targets may be anti-Alzheimer's, antimicrobial, or anti-cancer, therefore providing new potential drug leads for the future of pharmaceuticals, with the ultimate goal being saving lives and improving life quality for people around the world. Thank you. Why this work is important with angry looking bacteria. Next slide, please. Alzheimer's disease. This is a neurodegenerative disease that is the most common cause of all dementia. It's accountable for 60 to 80% of all the cases. It's most abundant in the elderly, affecting 5 to 10% of people over the age of 65 and up to 40% of people over the age of 80. So it is a seriously vast problem. There's quite a high part of the population that will develop Alzheimer's, unfortunately. The number of cases continuously increases due to the increase of the number of elderly within our communities. Therefore, new, more effective drugs need to be discovered to treat this growing threat. And this is just a graph that shows it increasing. Sorry, it's just a graph that shows the increase of Alzheimer's cases with the increase in population. Thank you. Cancer. This is another serious disease that needs tackling with new novel drugs today. In 2020 alone, the worldwide figure for new cancer cases was 19 million. This figure is set to rise by 55% by 2040. 1 in 6 deaths worldwide are a result of cancer. Many cancers are vastly different and require completely different pharmaceuticals to combat them. So therefore, new pharmaceuticals are desperately required to fight this difficult to treat disease. This is just a bar chart showing the increase in new cancer cases expected every year. So it is increasing all the time. Drug-resistant microbes. The continuous increase of drug-resistant microbes is a vast issue for today's world. To compound this problem, new antibiotics are approved for use less and less frequent as years pass. Approximately 1,900 people die each year of infections resistant to antibiotics worldwide. This equates to 700,000 deaths globally. In Britain, approximately at least 12,000 people die each year from antibiotic resistance, with this figure still rising. This figure is equivalent to the UK number of deaths due to breast cancer. This first graph shows the increase in the production of enzymes, which is responsible for breaking down antibiotics. And this is the result, these result in antibiotic resistance. So this graph also accounts for the increase in antibiotic resistance. This second bar chart shows the new how many new antibiotics are being approved. So as resistance is increasing, there's less and less antibiotics being approved all the time that are needed to combat this resistance. Next slide, please, Georgie. Thank you. Why natural products? To defend ourselves as humans from disease-causing pathogens, humans have an intricate immune system to defend their bodies. Many organisms, unlike us, do not contain a working immune system. Therefore, they must become chemically sharp to counter this deficiency. This is done by producing natural products to react to environmental changes around them. These changes may include aggressive microorganisms competing for nutrients that, without the production of natural products for defense, may kill the defending organism. A good example of this, which you will all know, is penicillin, which is produced by a fungus to kill bacteria that compete for the nutrients that the fungus needs to live and grow. This is a picture of an agar plate. This just shows the inhibition around the bacteria of a bacteria colony around a penicillin center. It just shows how it does kill the bacteria around it. Next slide, please, Georgie. Thank you. What the Rotary Global Grant has provided is transport to all the collection sites, accommodation for me as I'm doing my studies and my research, the trips for the sample collecting, laboratory consumables like solvents, microbial broth, equipment, bioassays. There's also external research costs, more bioassays later on, the tests against disease targets, some NMR spectroscopy and mass spectrometry. This is to work out when I do find activity, positive activity for a certain molecule, I can then figure out the structure. So then I know exactly what's causing it. The Rotary has also provided the opportunity to search for diverse, exciting environments for organisms that produce natural products that one day could be used in medicine to save many lives. This is just a picture of me inoculating an agar plate with my initial samples. There's been 3 collection sites altogether. My first one was Ormond Garden. This was done initially as a practice before I went to so I could go through all the steps of growing the microbes, isolating them, growing them on a large scale, etc. Before I went to the sample sites where I planned to go, like the salt lakes at Wadi Natron and the coral reefs at Hurghada, which are both the salt lakes at Wadi Natron are an extreme environment, so they could be extreme. Life lives in an extreme environment there, so the microbes that live inside it could create different new natural products. And Hurghada, the biodiversity there is massive. There's loads of different creatures that are known to produce highly bioactive natural products. The first collection site was Ormond Garden. This is a botanical garden that is in Cairo. Oh, it's gone back, I think.
Cool.
This is the botanical garden in Cairo. Unfortunately, I was going to have a look round. Unfortunately, at the time, the Giza Zoo is next door, and because they'd shut that down for renovation, they'd also shut down Ormond Garden. But as you can see where the fence is, I managed to get one from inside, and the second pallet is just outside. But I collected them for initial practice of laboratory techniques. This was to make sure I was fluent and quick before the sample collecting trips. 2 plant samples were collected, with 14 microbes being isolated from these samples. 7 fungi and 7 bacteria were identified within the plants and then isolated and cultured for testing. Next slide, please. The second collection site was the salt lakes at Wadi Natron. The samples were collected from in and around the salt lakes at Woody Natron. The high salinity provides a harsh environment for life. This leads to the potential for the presence of more unusual organisms and therefore unusual natural products produced by the organisms. 17 plant, water, and algae samples were collected, with 70 microbes being isolated from these samples. Of these microbes identified within the plants, half were fungi and half bacteria, with all isolated and cultured for testing. Next slide, please. The final collection site was Hurghada. These samples were collected in and around the coral reefs at Hurghada. The vast biodiversity of the organisms present at these reefs is a valuable source of potentially novel natural products. 14 samples were collected, including marine sponges, sea cucumbers, soft corals, and algae, with 40 microbes being isolated from these samples. Of these microbes identified within the samples, half were fungi and half bacteria, with all isolated and cultured for testing. We've just got a picture of me and my other supervisor over here, Ahmed, on the boat, ready to do some diving there. We got there's a sponge. Sample number 8 is a sponge. There's a soft coral you can see, and number 1 was a sea cucumber. Next slide, please, Georgie. Why the Red Sea? The Red Sea was chosen because the marine environment is rich in biological and chemical diversity. This diversity has given rise to novel chemical compounds with drug development potential. A significant number of novel metabolites with potent pharmacological properties have been discovered in marine organisms in recent years. The Red Sea is a rich source of marine organisms containing bioactive compounds with intriguing and distinctive structural characteristics. The marine environment is a rich source of bioactive natural products, many of which have structural chemical properties not found in terrestrial natural products. This has been shown in some of Georgie's work, where him and his team discovered anti-epilepsy activity from natural products isolated from the zebrafish, which is native to the Red Sea. Next slide, please. This is a simplified flow chart of the scientific process of pretty much everything I do over here. Number 1 is collection of the organisms. Secondly is identification. This is usually done by a biologist there at the scene, and then later on we can get them genetically tested for to be 100% sure. Third is sterilization. This is to wash all the external microbes off for example, a sponge. I did put a picture of a kitchen sponge, but an actual sponge. But you wash the outside, and you wash it with ethanol. You wash it with water as well, and it sterilizes it. So when you do put the samples on the plates, the only microbes that are growing out of, say, for example, the marine sponge samples are what has come from the inside of the organism. So you know it's something that lives, a microorganism that lives inside the sponge. This is done with the sample plating. This is just chopping up the sterilized sample, putting it on a plate for bacteria plates and fungi plates, and seeing what microbes grow. Then you do streaking on agar plates. This isolates individually the microbes, because you don't want to be growing two at once. You want to isolate them so you know where the compounds are coming from. Once completely isolated, the microbes are then put on slants. After this, they are grown for small-scale fermentation. This is done for every single sample, and every single microbial sample is then checked for biological activity. And the ones with the highest biological activity, we continue the research with. This is just a quick way to narrow down the process, so not wasting time because it takes a long time, this process. So you can't do it with every single sample. So you've got to narrow it down as soon as you can to find the ones with the highest activity against the disease targets that you're looking at. For the ones that get through this process, we grow them on large scale fermentation. This is followed by isolation of all the compounds through different chemistry techniques. This is the chemistry side now. And after all the compounds are isolated, you figure out what the compounds are through the structure. And after this, there's other bioassays, very specific ones, but this is done on each individual molecule. So these include cancer, microbial and Alzheimer's disease targets. And then if there is activity, they enter the drug discovery pipeline further for trials, in vitro trials, and then hopefully animal trials, and then hopefully human trials eventually. It is a long process though. Next slide, please, Georgie. We are currently sending all the samples from Hurghada and Wadi Natrum off. They're all dry and they're all going to get tested for biological assay as we speak. I haven't got the results back yet though, but from the Ormond Garden samples, this one showed high antibiotic activity. This is the one that we're going to, that we've grown on a large scale now, and we're going to identify which compounds inside it are responsible for this strong antibiotic activity. This JA16 was shown to have the highest antimicrobial activity. This was a fungal sample. This was also repeated, this activity was repeated in a different test that tests against a biofilm target, which is a barrier made by bacteria that adds to the antibiotic resistance that that bacteria may have. So this was repeated, so we know the results are proper and real. Therefore, large-scale fermentation of this fungus has been carried out to identify which compounds within the sample are responsible for this antimicrobial activity. These samples, like I said, the Ormond samples were just literally at the side of a road. I just clipped a plant and grew the microbes inside, and it just goes to show that nature is full of amazing things, and you can find things that you never thought you'd be able to find from things that could be right in front of you. You just don't know, but that's how nature works. There's just an unlimited source of new drugs for the future that you can find if you look hard enough. The table just shows the inhibition of what the samples caused the inhibition. As you can see, the numbers for the JA16 are the highest. So it had the highest inhibition, so that is why I'm going further with the large-scale fermentation of this certain fungal strain. Next slide, please, Georgie. The summary of this, working on discovering a potential drug candidate from fungi, any of the disease target diseases that can undergo preclinical evaluation, which can potentially be licensed to other companies for drug development. Hopefully, this can be through a charity-funded model so that the drug can be sold at very affordable prices to people, particularly to the population and countries that can least afford it. To complete my PhD and continue on to do postdocs, to learn more about drug development and acquire leadership roles so I can contribute more in this field and fulfill my Rotary roles in the wider community. Thank you for everything, Rotary. Thank you for your continued support within this amazing opportunity in the search for medicines of the future. A special thanks to Velma and John from Rotary, and Georgie, Ahmed, Arthur and Andrea for their provision of the trip and project. Everybody's been amazing, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I think that's everything at the moment. I think I'm going to pass you back on to Georgie now. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was all. Thank you, Jack, for that. And thank you, Rotary, again, for the invitation and for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Georgie and Jack.
Thank you so much for having us.
Very, very welcome, both of you. And it's just to think that through you supporting the foundation, Jack is not only getting a chance of a lifetime, but he's also working on two very important medical issues, that's Alzheimer's and cancer. And Jack is only there doing this work because of Rotarians like you, and what a legacy that you're creating. Thanks very much as well, Georgie, for leading on this. And I know we'll be speaking again shortly. I hope you enjoyed. You're very welcome to stay for the rest of the seminar if you wish.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Now, hello. We've got an unexpected guest. This is Reg, our Club Polio Bear. He's been helping us to raise the profile of polio, and he's well travelled and had some adventures. A couple of years ago, we had him down in South Africa, and he was actually kidnapped by a little girl about 9 years old, and who fell in love with him and wouldn't give him back to us. So we had to acquire another little bear, and while she was distracted, we were able to snatch Reg back. So it's very timely, Reg appearing, because the next subject we're going to do, we're going to carry on with this issue about health. And our next speaker is Derek Rothwell, who'll be able to talk to us about polio. Nearly 40 years ago, Rotary started the fight against this terrible disease, and the world has gone from 350,000 cases a year to just a handful this year. So please welcome Derek Rothwell.
Thank you, John. I have probably 20 minutes, half an hour presentation. I'm proposing that I cut it down. I'm not sure of your timing. Please, could you just suggest what I should do?
Yes, we're just about on schedule. You're probably an extra 5 minutes. So if you could do it in 20 minutes, that would be excellent.
Okay, well, I'm not going to start there. First of all, I should say I'm Derek Rothwell. For the last couple of years, I've been the M-Polio Now coordinator. For the year 22-23, I was working with the team in Evanston on the eradication of polio, and that was a very exciting time. I'm the M-Polio Now coordinator for what is basically the UK and the outlying islands and various other bits which Rotary believes is part of the UK. Those are in regions which which are the UK. So I also am a member of the Rotary Club of Woodbridge Deben, which, from what I can figure out, is a very long way from where you are. So I'm just going to scoot through a few slides to get to the one that I want to start with, and that's around about here. Really, the emphasis which I'm going to put on tonight is the way that Rotary's money is used in fighting the eradication of polio. I'm not a medical person at all, so I'm going to talk to you. I was going to talk to you more about the history, but I'm now going to focus on where we are going with the polio program. I'm pleased to say that in 2021, a couple of years ago, that a new polio vaccine was developed, and the funding for that development, some of it came from Rotary, and I think it's quite important to see that funds from Rotary are going into research. So we've introduced a new vaccine, which is called the novel oral polio vaccine, to address outbreaks of circulating variant polio virus. Now, the problem, that sounds a bit of a complicated set of things, but the problem is that the original vaccine, the oral vaccine, was not a stable vaccine. And so you would find that the samples of the virus were found in places where it shouldn't be. And so what we have now is a much more stable, more genetically stable and less likely to revert. So that means that when we've cured eradicated polio in a region, then it stays like that, rather than having to keep going back and scratching our head and saying, well, where did this start? And what are we going to do about it? This is a table showing the fundraising results that we've achieved. A word about Polio Plus. It's a program which has other benefits, and those benefits can be used in fighting other diseases. The rapid development of a COVID vaccine, some of the infrastructure which allowed that to happen was put in through the Polio Plus program. You will see that if you look at the horizontal rows, that this is based on the year ending the 30th of June last year, that we had cash of 37.1 million, and we had some contribution from DDF. I think the DDF has been mentioned already, the District Designated Fund, and some money came from there. The total came to 49 million, which is a great figure. It's especially good because it's very close to 50 million. And I think I'll be covering later that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have agreed until 2026 to provide $100 million, matched 2-to-1 with what Rotary raises. So that means we get 50 million, then we maximize the amount of money we get from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So we'll move on. So contributions from Rotary members to the Polio Plus Fund. You can see from here that the amount to the Polio Plus Fund is not high. It's, I kind of think that it's the start of something better, and we need to increase the amount. We see 12.4% for last year, and you know, it should. We do need something better than that. But moving on to DDF allocations, some of you will know that Rotary International recommends that 20% of DDF is given to Polio Plus. So you'll see in the headings there the number of districts which gave 20% of DDF. It's a bit of a mixed bag there. Obviously, there was through that period the pandemic, so that would not have helped. But we do need districts to start thinking in terms of supporting this program, and not just noting the program is taking place. And supporting the program means adding 20% of DDF into the Polio Plus Fund. What are we doing at the moment? This is the data on the 30th of September. We've raised $6.2 million. These are it's all in US dollars, and that's quite a good start to this year. I would hope that we get that up to the $50 million that I was just talking about there. And as I said, the Gates Foundation joined the fight to eradicate polio. This was a recognition that the Polio Plus program required some significant financial resources. And we are really pleased that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has come to help in this eradication program. This probably doesn't fit in quite well with the presentation I had, because what I wanted to say here was that people who got polio, especially in the 1940s and early 1950s, the vaccines made it appear that the disease would go away, but actually that isn't true. And there's quite a large number of British people living today with complications of polio. Double that number also in the USA. So these polio survivors, as they're called, are an example of how important it is that we eradicate polio. They're giving us a message: you've got to solve the problem. And so we need the support of the entire Rotary organisation to do this. This is current information as of October 2023. The paralysing type of the polio virus, wild polio, there are still cases appearing, but they tend to be small, limited number of cases in small areas. So it's not a wide distribution of polio cases. And because these cases are localized, we think that we have a good chance of solving the problem. If we found them spread across an entire country, then that would not be so easy. So we got 6 in Afghanistan and 4 in Pakistan this year. That is from the 1st of July through to the end of October. Yeah, it's I think that it's important that we understand that this is a current problem. It's not something which which we can forget about. By 2016, when the last cases of polio were detected in Africa, and 37 years after the first Rotary-funded mass immunisation project, the number of cases has fallen by more than 99.9%. That's an indication of the effectiveness of the programme to eradicate polio. And 2 of the 3 polio virus strains have been eradicated. Since 2017, a new problem has arisen: the circulating vaccine-derived polio. The reasons for this are quite complex. This is the mutated version of the wild polio virus, and so this circulating vaccine, circulating disease is now a problem. The reasons are quite complex, but in simple terms, if a population is seriously under-immunised, there will be enough susceptible children for the vaccine-derived poliovirus to begin circulating in the community. If the vaccine virus is able to circulate for a prolonged period of time without interruption, over the course of 12 to 18 months, it can revert to a form which causes disease which is indistinguishable from the wild type virus. Episodes of circulating vaccine-derived virus, poliovirus, are rare. Over the past 10 years, a period during which more than 10 billion doses of oral polio vaccine were given worldwide, the circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus outbreaks have resulted in fewer than 800 cases. In the same period, in the absence of immunisation with oral polio vaccine, more than 6.5 million children would have been paralysed by wild polio virus. The number of wild polio cases for 2023, as of October 25th, is 10. There were 4 in Pakistan and 6 in Afghanistan, as we saw in the previous slide. The virus is still just a plane ride away. We've recently seen in Malawi, Mozambique. Some of you may remember that September, there was somebody who was carrying the virus, who got on a plane in, I think it was Malawi. That plane touched down in London, there were some additional work done by the NHS to make sure that nothing spread. The same person went across to New York, and in a suburb of New York, where that person was living, they contracted proper polio, and so it is an incurable disease. You can stop it spreading, but you can't. Once you've got it, that unfortunately is something which can't be undone. So it can find its way to anywhere in any country whilst it still exists. And we must keep up our vigilance, research and vaccinations, the environmental sampling, which tells us where the circulating virus exists, and also to build the required funding. There are a number of organisations involved in the eradication strategy. The one you see here, the World Health Organization, is one. There's also the Global Eradication Initiative, which was part of the GPEI, which Rotary helped set up. The strategy is for the goals to permanently eradicate the wild polio virus. And then goal 2 is stop transmission of vaccine-derived polio virus. You probably heard Tom Hunt, who was on earlier, and he was talking about the eradication by the end of this year. And that is goal 1. Stopping transmission of the vaccine-derived polio virus is a bit more of a challenge, but that is our second objective. This is the timeline for the new strategy. The new strategy has already begun. Then there will be a broader use of the new novel oral polio vaccine, which, because it doesn't mutate, I mentioned this earlier, it will be more effective stopping outbreaks of the circulating polio-derived poliovirus type 2. Interruption of the wild poliovirus type 1. Type 1 is the only wild virus still circulating, and reporting the last isolate of circulating vaccine is planned for the end of 2023, that's this year. And the certification of the eradication of type 1 and the validation of the absence of circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus is planned for the end of 2026. We can feel good that the number of wild circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus cases continues to decline, but now is not the time to be complacent. Rather, we need to capitalise on this progress to maintain high level of immunity among children, such that we can achieve eradication. This requires hundreds of thousands of frontline workers immunising hundreds of millions of children and intensifying disease surveillance activities to be sure we know where the virus may be circulating. A robust surveillance system is essential to proving that we have interrupted transmission of the polio virus. So the funding required over the next 5 years, 2022 to 2026, $4.8 billion. That's a huge amount of money, and is going to challenge us to raise that money so that we can provide the tools for the eradication program to eliminate polio. I mentioned some of the numbers: immunising up to 400 million children, funding hundreds of thousands of workers, and intensifying disease surveillance activities. So where is Rotary's $150 million spent? You probably remember I talked about the 50 million we raised in the match from Bill and Melinda Gates, 150 million. There are a number of different things here, which when you add them up, come to approximately 150 million. Raising awareness of the eradication program, giving grants. The grants are determined by Rotary International, and these grants are given to develop new viruses, to develop new vaccines, and to provide the tools which are necessary to provide the necessary surveillance that is needed. I think we need vaccines, and there's some grants which Rotary will be making, will have made. I've got a couple of slides here about the AFP. This is the paralysis type of polio, and the surveillance. Surveillance is a very important part of this program. You need to know where the virus is before otherwise you're just shooting, and the efforts are just going nowhere. So there are several countries which have got surveillance programs in place. The surveillance is the gold standard for detecting the cases of polio. The 4 steps of surveillance are finding and reporting children with AFP. Remember, it's a childhood disease. Transporting stool samples for analysis. Isolating the poliovirus. And genetic mapping to determine the origin of the virus strain. Where did it come from? So if we know where it comes from, we can do something about it. We find the environmental surveillance that is carried out through testing sewage, and it confirms where the wild poliovirus infections are. In the if the disease is not immediately visible, we can find out where it's got to by doing the environmental surveillance. This is a picture of the Global Polio Laboratory Network. This is basically the locations where surveillance is carried out, and where we can determine and where the virus has got to. So you'll see that there are specialized laboratories in the red bits. It may be a bit too small for you to see on the screen, and you see the worldwide coverage of this laboratory network. This was one of the benefits of the Polio Plus program, where the Plus was developing this network, or helping to develop this network. Another thing that our $150 million supports is getting the vaccines to the children. And you'll know that the outbreaks are in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the communication is not that easy. You can see the box on top. It will be cooled so that the vaccine doesn't deteriorate, and these people are taking it to the village where the vaccine will be used by people who have been trained to do that. Detecting the virus, again, this is an example of the surveillance lab, which is in somewhere in some country. This is where, but it's also another place where we give grants to. What we've learned from 2021, which is when the pandemic is around, 160 of 534 districts did not contribute EDF to Polio Plus. That's 30% of districts made no contribution whatsoever. 17,000 of the 33,000 clubs approximately did not contribute to Polio Plus. 1.1 million of 1.2 Rotarians did not contribute to Polio Plus, 90%. And some clubs give gift for their Rotarians, which I think it needs to be a more personal giving, but we will accept any money which is available. The question really is, how are we going to change this so that we can increase the giving into the Polio Plus fund? I'll stay with that. Right, we'll move on to this one, which is where are we falling behind on screening and testing? So even though we may have the labs and can detect the surveillance, there's still places where we don't know what's happening, and those are the ones marked in red. Not too many, but they are there, and we need to get a collection rate above 80%. And can polio return? Yes, it can. You can see the red, which basically are the direction of where the polio can go, and the picture at the bottom, which shows the airline routes. And you can see the airline routes really are a way of distributing the polio virus. We all travel by plane. It's something which we need to recognise as being a source of the virus. So the Gates Foundation will now match the 100 million through 2026, but how do we reach the 50 million? So we've got 6 boxes here, which I'll go through. Every district and club has a Polio Plus chair and goal. We have the mPolio Now coordinators. I call them the DEPNCs, the District mPolio Now coordinators. Has every district got one of those people in place? From my recollection, there are a few districts which do not have that as part of their, or linked into their foundation committee. Increase the number of districts, clubs and Rotarian giving by 10%. So the amount we give now, can we increase it by another 10%? And that will increase the amount of money going into the Polio Plus. Tom was talking about securing major gift, and that matches donations by Rotarians. We have social media for small or event gifts, Rotary Direct, and the district recognition programs, e.g. the Polio Plus Society. The Polio Plus Society is a relatively new grouping of people. The simple purpose is to get a funding stream into the Polio Plus fund. Right, I'll park that one. We're slightly out of sync here. Everyone can't give a large amount, so we're talking about the $100. You remember that we talked about the giving the $100 to the Sustaining Members program. The Polio Plus Society is also wanting to get a $100 contribution. So of that $100, $39 goes to getting vaccines to children, $24 raising awareness, $19 vaccine production, $14 detecting the polio virus, and $3 for people trying to raise our money so that we can do it, and some research. And that research has paid off when I mentioned the novel Oreo polio virus. Oh, here we go. So we have set up the Polio Plus Society. This was done in the term of President Jennifer Jones, and she, through various people over in the US, she has set up this Rotary Club, this Polio Plus Society. The Polio Plus Society, if you register with me and commit to giving $100 each year until the polio has been eliminated, eradicated, I will give you a badge and a certificate, and my sincere thanks for being part of this this program. It says the pledge is $100 per year or $10 a month. You can do it in whatever grouping of, say, $10. It could be $50 every 6 months, and we don't have any requirement that it's got to be done in a certain way. Just that it's $100 per year. and then you become 100% Polio Plus Society club. Well, if you become 100% Polio Plus Society in your club if you can get everybody to join that. I think that this is well, I think this is one of the major steps forward that we've made with fundraising for polio, and it's still in its early stages, but we are making some progress. We've got about 100 members so far, members are coming in each day. So I'll conclude. This is a flyer which I had prepared to join the Polio Plus Society and help to end polio. I'll read the text below just in case it's too small. We are asking all clubs to hold a Polio Plus Society programme or a World Polio Day event. World Polio Day was earlier this week, of course, last week. Register your World Polio Day or any event which is raising money for the Polio Plus Society. There is a link which if that doesn't work, I've got another link, and we look forward to an increase in the number of subscriptions to the Polio Plus Society. And just think you'll eventually get a badge, which is quite a nice enameled metal badge. So, John, that's concluding my my talk.
Well, thank you very much, Derek. I'm just waiting for my screen to come back on. That's it was very interesting, and I enjoyed your slides. We're now going to move on to our next presentation, and we're now going to link up with an old friend, Sam Jones, our district grants officer, who's going to talk to you now. Sam, it's over to you.
Thank you, John. I hope I can both be seen and heard. Just a few quick words about myself. I've been a Rotarian since the early 1970s, mostly with the Rotary Club of Preston and Mountainous. I did a 5-year stint as the district treasurer and a 3-year one as an assistant governor. But I've been the grants officer for the district since July 2020. I've been given 10 minutes, and John is very generous to me to give you an overview of the grants of the foundation, which, as has been said several times already, is our charity and which it makes. There's a lot of detail involved in the process of applying for grants and complying with the conditions on which they are made, which I can't possibly cover in any depth in the time I have. But the foundation part of the Rotary International website and the Rotary Learning Centre are excellent sources of information. And of course, I'm very, very ready and happy to help. Just please remember, as you navigate the grant system, the sheer benefit that the grant funds can bring to local and international communities. Some basics to start off with. The foundation awards 2 sorts of grants: global grants, which have been covered in part this evening already, and district grants. And I will focus very, very much on district grants. Very broadly, what our district can receive from the foundation for district grants depends on what the clubs in the district contributed to the foundation 3 years ago. The more we contribute, the more we get back. District and foundation officers at all levels are heavily influenced in their decisions in making grants by the foundation's 7 areas of focus. These areas of focus are what the foundation will allow its money to be spent on. I'm sure most of you are aware of what the areas of focus are, but a quick reminder. They are preventing disease, providing clean water, supporting education, growing local economies, saving mothers and children, promoting peace, and more laterally supporting the environment. Clubs and districts must adhere to the Foundation's reporting deadlines and can be barred from applying for both district and global grants if reports are outstanding. Currently, LEM 90 has a 100% compliance record, and we are very keen to keep it that way. To qualify for a Foundation district grant in LEM 90, a club must attend a district foundation seminar such as the one we are holding tonight. Some more about district grants now. District grants can be used to fund a variety of district and club projects that fit into one or more of the areas of focus. These can either be local or international projects. Districts can, by applying to the Foundation, use up to 50% of the amount allocated to them under the 3-year rule, which is known as the District Designated Fund, to receive one lump sum district grant annually. The grant can then be distributed by the district between qualifying clubs that have applied for a grant, subject to obtaining the Foundation's approval. In the 2021-22 Rotary year, 478 district grants worth $27 million were awarded globally by the Foundation. In the Rotary year we are now going through, District LEM 90 has applied for and received 8 district grants totaling $13,097. The Foundation, I'm afraid, always speaks in dollars, but a quick conversion of that is 10,000, getting on for 11,000. Grants totaling $15,961 could have been awarded if enough qualifying applications had been received. But the current year is a bit of a strange one because we had £11,000 of surplus district funds allocated for Foundation, and we used this money in what were called localized project grants, which were really district grants by any other name. So I think to look at this current year in the round, we are talking somewhere, I think, in terms of grants of around £21,000. The amount likely to be available to the district for district grants in the 2024-25 Rotary year is around $15,000. The maximum amount district grant that our district currently awards per project is 50% of the project cost, but not exceeding £1,500. And the club can apply for only one grant per Rotary year. The club and or its partners provide the balance. A little bit of an aside now. I know, sort of clubs are finding fundraising quite difficult, in the main, I think, currently. And there are other clubs which have projects but not enough funds to support them. But clubs can work together on projects and on providing funds for them. There are some really good examples of this happening in the district. Loonsdale and Kirkland Rural Fylde have worked together for years on classroom projects in Malawi to great effect, and combining their resources and expertise. Applications for a district grant must be made on the form, which can be obtained either from me or downloaded from the Foundation Grants section of the Foundation part of the district website. I'll give you now some examples of successful sort of applications for district grants in the current year, and mixed it between national, local and international projects. So the first grant one was awarded to Accrington Club, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. The Atsedi Clinic operates in the Gubre region of Ethiopia, which has very high levels of poverty and maternal and child mortality. The clinic provides antenatal care and birth support at its facilities and by its midwives traveling to villages. The clinic wishes to increase the number of visits it makes to villages to enable them to help more women. Working with Ethiopia Aid, which is a UK charity, The grant and matching club funds will be used to pay the salaries of 2 extra midwives for a year. So a great project. Next one is the Blackpool Sunrise project, which again is a splendid one. Blackpool Carers is a locally focused charity established in Blackpool in 2005. It provides one-to-one support for families and young carers, respite provision and benefits advice in a very deprived area of Blackpool. The charity did not have enough laptops for the group sessions it runs. For example, they run sessions on money management and healthy relationships for young carers. The grant and club funds will be used to purchase 5 additional laptops and enable Blackpool carers to deliver their objective. Next one is the Furness Peninsula grant. And this is an international one. Menstrual health facilities in India are poor. As many as 23 million girls in India drop out of school because of the lack of adequate sanitary facilities at school premises. The project for which the grant and club funds will be used is to install 5 sanitary towel vending machines and 5 incinerators at 5 schools. The Potter East Rotary Club will oversee the project locally and provide ongoing support. Back to our district now and the Rossendale grant. Veterans in Communities, which is based in East Lancashire, enables ex-service and emergency service personnel and their families to return and be part of their local communities. Involvement in community projects is encouraged, and the grant with club funds will be used to cover the cost of the construction of 2 benches by the veterans to be placed at the Millennium Green in Lum, and in the purchase of new easels and painting equipment for the rehabilitation and craft courses held at the charity's premises. I hope that those 4 examples give you an idea of the sheer spread of what can be achieved by district grants. And I hope you are both impressed and inspired. And finally, I just want to take you through the process for the district grants for the 2024-25 Rotary year, which is the season we're entering into now. So this seminar is the starting point for the Rotary year 2024-25 grants journey. Between now and March 2024, which is the closing date, clubs can prepare and submit the application for projects they want grant funding for to me as the grants officer. The district grants subcommittee, which is made up of the district governor, the district foundation team leader and me, meets to consider the projects in April 2024. In May 2024, I will submit the district's funding and application to the foundation in Evanston. Between May and, say, July 2024, the foundation in Evanston considers the district application and may seek additional information from me. And the queries can be many and varied, but interesting. The foundation agrees the district application and will then send the funds to the district bank account between July and September 2024. Our district treasurer Val will then pay the grant monies to the successful clubs. The money must be paid into the club's charitable trust account. The clubs will then will then submit reports to me as the grants officer, detailing their progress with the projects by February 2024. They don't have to be completed by then, but I do want to hear how they're doing. So that is all from me, but just finally, please do apply for grants. Your communities will benefit. And please remember, as has been said several times already this evening, the foundation is our charity. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Sam, for that. We'll move quickly on. I was now expecting to invite Tony Perini to give a presentation on sustaining members. Unfortunately, Tony can't do that now and he's asked me to do that, so I hope I can do you justice. This is all about doing good in the world, and we've talked a lot tonight about donations. Next slide, please. And you can see there that what we're doing. And the contributions, as you can see, go to different parts of the foundation. And Polly, now we've just been talking a lot about the Peace Centres. We've just been to the Bradford Peace Centre this last weekend, and it was absolutely marvellous to see young people who are doing so much good work, many with a lot of field experience already. And sadly, last year, one of last year's peace members has sadly died doing that job. So these are important people, and it's important that we keep supporting them. There's money goes to the Angle Fund. That is split into two parts: the DDF and the World Fund. I'm not going to get into that. I think it's sufficient to know that there's a cycle in which that money comes back. It's one of the only charities I know that returns money back to the donors to be reused. And of course, there's the endowment fund, and only the earnings are used. And that's just quite important, because you put, just like your savings accounts have suffered over the years with inflation and lack of decent interest rates, so has the endowment. So, and they can only spend the interest, so the more we support them, the better. And of course, what a tremendous legacy that many decades after you've gone, your donation will still be working and doing good in the world. Now, you've seen that about sustaining membership, and it's very simple. What they're asking you to do is to give $100 a year, about £82 a year, about £6.50 a month to the foundation, and you will become a sustaining member. It's very easy. You make there's different ways you can play it in a lump sum. You can play half now and half a bit later, or you can do what many do, is set a direct debit up to pay £6, £7, £8 a month, and that will get you to over the $100 mark. And of course, paying it through the Rotary Foundation UK means it also attracts gift aid, which increases the value of it as well. Next, so there you go, $100, it's £82, £6.83 a week, £23 pence a day. So there's some examples. It's daily papers, that's at £1.30. It's about £405 a year. Sunday paper says they're £2. Well, my Sunday paper costs a lot more than that. So just in your newspapers alone, you could probably spend £500 a year, and the Rotary's asking for $100, about £82 a year. Basically, without getting too complicated, as Sam has mentioned, it's a 3-year cycle. The money we take in 3 years ago is what becomes available for DDF now. And that's the grants that Sam's just been talking about. So it's very simple, as it says there. The less income, the less is available to clubs. So please donate. Our DDF has dropped to $17,500. These figures are still under review, and Sam will be updating us shortly with the full figures. Next, and how do you do it? It's very, very simple. You go online and get the form. You simply say how you want to do it. Do you want to do it quarterly? Do you want to do it every month? And you fill out the form, make sure it's the one for Rotary Foundation UK. Say that because it tracks gift aid, and that's about £22, and that will help you to meet that target of $100. Now, it's a voluntary scheme, but we're all working to try and increase those club contributions. But as a sustaining member, this is personal. I'm a sustaining member, but it's personal to me. I've seen what it does on the ground. I've seen Africa, and I've seen it in India. So for me, it's a very easy decision to make, and I've seen how quite a small amount of money can make a huge difference to people's lives. As it says there, do good and feel good. And I think many of you will know what the feeling when you do some good, and you know that someone somewhere in the world is benefiting from your generosity. And on behalf of those that's benefiting at University, thank you very much. Any questions, you can contact me or Tony. You'll find us on the DMS system. Thank you. That was a rather quick run through that. I hope I did it justice. I want to know if I might just very quickly mention a couple of events coming up, and then I'll hand over to DG Pam. We've got the Sun Never Sets on Rotary, which is in February next year. This is a 24-hour rolling program. It's showcasing all that we do in the world. Very well done. We have a 1-hour slot at approximately 8 p.m. in the evening, so watch out for registrations for that, please. And of course, we have the 2 foundation appreciation lunches, which are very popular. They are in May, and places are limited. So as soon as you see the registration come up, which will be early in the new year, please get your name down for that, and we look forward to seeing you. I'd now like to introduce District Governor Pam to say a few words to you.
Thank you. Wow, goodness me. Thank you so much, John, for organising such an incredible evening. Thank you to all our speakers. And thank you to everyone who's joined us on Zoom. We have recorded it, so it will be available to share across all our clubs and all our members. How fantastic. Sat in our rooms in Cumbria and Lancashire, and we are linked with Jack and Dr. Joji over in Egypt. The power of modern technology is amazing, isn't it? And I think it's really important when we look at areas of focus like foundation, that we look back and remember why, and then we look forward and think about how. So thanks to Tom for reminding us how the Rotary Foundation began back in 1917 with the vision by Arch Clump to create a fund to do good in the world. And then we came forward to Jack and Dr. Joji in Egypt, explaining their work in the incredible world of microbiology in search of medicines for the future. We also listened to Vaz talking about our vocational training team programme, and potentially one for 2024 links us with teachers in Bangalore, and to Derek as well, who talked about the End Polio Now project work, the ongoing research, the vaccine programme, and the future aims and objectives. And I couldn't go any further without thanking Reg the Polio Bear for his guest appearance. So I think every time I listen to people talk about the Rotary Foundation, I'm reminded of the incredible work that it supports, and it's work that you, the Rotarians, do to make a difference in the world. I know that we all want to do good in the world, and this foundation helps us to do that. And through the different presentations tonight, lots of different ways have been explained to you. And I would urge you, if you want more information, to contact John, to contact Sam, or to contact Tony to find out more. And thank you to Sam on reminding us of the grants programme. I'll honestly say it's a tricky world, the grants programme. But Sam, you really clearly walked us through it. And I know that you've got immense expertise and knowledge. And if anybody is struggling to understand or have an idea and not know how to present it, then please contact Sam or John, and they will help you take that forward. So thank you. We all want to do good in the world. The foundation helps us do that. So let's keep supporting it and keep our vision to create a fund that does good, to keep it going. Thank you to everybody who's joined me and the speakers tonight. Thanks, John, again. I look forward to seeing everybody at future events. Take care. Good night.
Thank you very much. And I will join DG with that. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And you've seen plenty of examples of what your money does. And I will just ask you again to please submit your donations and support the foundation and the End Polio Now. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of everybody and all the guests in particular who are grateful to attend, thank you very much and good evening.